Hello, everybody, and welcome to our mini lecture today. We are going to be diving into how in the world do we think about all of these different theories. If you've looked at your textbook at all, you will notice that there's a lot of complexity. There are a lot of theories, there are a lot of different perspectives, and they're organized not alphabetically or anything else like that. They're in there by different subject headings and topics and categorizations that you probably don't necessarily understand yet. So today we are going to begin corralling that complexity. As you will have noticed, we are only reading a teeny tiny section of chapter 2. We are not reading the whole thing. I repeat, we are not reading all of chapter 2. You do not need to know the entire history of communication studies as a field in order to understand what's going on here. Instead, we are going to focus on the traditions of communication theory, of which rhetoric, which you're majoring in, is one. But we're going to talk about those traditions of theory and why they're going to be our means of corralling complexity a little bit today. So very many theories and so little time to do anything with them. So some of the questions, if you look at your textbook, that might come up for you is, how do we make sense of and remember all of these theories? Now, you don't have necessarily multiple choice quizzes or anything in this class, but you do still need to understand and remember these theories to some extent. How in the world are you going to do that? How do we see connections between theories? For your project in this class, you need to be able to come at your questions with several different versions of different theories to be able to come up with different answers. What theories can we use to answer our specific questions might be something that concerns you. How do you narrow down against all of these options to come up with something that actually makes sense to answer your questions? Do I have to read every theory in this book? Oh, good grief. And how do I find theories in all of this mess that help me answer my questions? If these are some of the things that you have been pondering, I can help. Chapter 2 introduces us to a couple of different patterns for organizing theory. We have Burrell and Morgan's 4 paradigms. This is great for understanding the social sciences and for understanding society. Dietz's discourse shows us the overlapping nature of theories, focuses on what theories do. It's also really good for talking about modernism and postmodernism. Power's levels of communication can help us explain communication as an academic study to outsiders. So if we're trying to understand or explain why we study communication to someone in psychology or anthropology or biology or any of the other ologies. But in this class, we are going to focus on Craig's traditions of communication theory. So there are 7 traditions that Craig comes up with that are all listed in your book, and they're explained there, and then we'll go into them in more depth with our reading on Thursday as well. But the broad idea here is that theories within these different traditions are there to help us answer specific questions. Different traditions in communication studies are focused on answering different types of questions. For instance, rhetoric is really interested in questions of how language builds our society, how people use language to do work in their world, especially in very public forums, and how we use those public forums as a way to build what it means to be a citizen of a particular country. Different traditions are interested in different things, and we'll explore those a little bit more. But if you understand what questions each tradition answers, then you can understand what theories will help you answer your questions a little bit better. If you are interested in questions of society, rhetoric traditions are going to be really helpful for you. If you are interested in questions of individual personal choice and why people make individual choices, and you come from a more social scientific, a more determinist perspective, rhetoric is not going to be as helpful for you. You're going to need to go with a sociological or a psychological approach to rhetoric. And then this brings us again to that so what question. Remember when I said that studying theory can help you. It can help you answer your own questions and find better questions to ask. That's why we'll use this traditions of communication theory paradigm that Craig gives us to organize our theories this year. And so today I want you to give this a try. For each of the things that you're reading about today, come up with an example of a few questions from each tradition of communication studies. Bring those examples to class and be prepared to share. We will go into those. I may give a little bit more detailed information on Thursday as well. But for right now, go ahead and read through those traditions of communication theory and come up with a couple examples of what kind of questions each tradition might be interested in answering.